It was a cloudy Tuesday morning when Sarah tightened her grip on her little boy's hand and walked nervously into the tall glass building. Her heart pounded like a drum as she pushed open the heavy doors, praying that no one would notice how worn out her shoes were or how old her handbag looked. Sarah was a single mom, juggling 2 part-time jobs and raising her 5-year-old son, Ethan. Today was supposed to be her chance at something better, a full-time job that could finally give them stability. But she had one problem. Her babysitter had cancelled at the last minute, and she had no choice but to bring Ethan with her to the interview. She had dressed him neatly in a tiny button-up shirt, brushed his hair carefully, and told him to be on his best behavior. "Just sit quietly, sweetheart, and Mommy will finish quickly," she whispered as they entered the lobby. Ethan nodded, clutching his small toy car for comfort. The receptionist gave her a quick glance, her eyes flicking toward the child, and Sarah felt a pang of shame, as if she were already being judged. When her name was called, Sarah stood tall, took a deep breath, and walked into the interview room, holding Ethan's hand tightly. The panel of managers seated at the long polished table raised their eyebrows. One of them leaned back in his chair, his tone sharp as he said, "We didn't expect you to bring a child here. This is a professional environment." Sarah's cheeks burned red, but she forced a polite smile. "I understand, sir. My babysitter cancelled last minute, and I couldn't leave him alone. I assure you I am fully capable of performing the role." Another manager exchanged a look with his colleague and muttered, "This isn't a daycare." The word stung like a slap. Sarah wanted to disappear, but she held her ground. Before she could explain further, the heavy door to the room swung open. A tall man in a tailored suit walked in, his presence commanding instant silence. Everyone straightened in their chairs as he entered. He was none other than Daniel Hayes, the CEO of the company, a self-made millionaire known for his sharp business mind and even sharper instincts about people. He glanced around the room, his gaze settling on Sarah and then on the small boy holding her hand. Ethan, nervous but curious, stepped forward and gave a little wave. Daniel smiled, something rare in that office, and knelt slightly to Ethan's level. "And who might you be?" he asked warmly. Ethan held up his toy car and said softly, "I'm Ethan. Mommy says she's here for a job." The room fell silent. Sarah's eyes filled with embarrassment, but Daniel chuckled. "Well, Ethan, that's very important. We always need good people on our team. Do you think your mom would be a good fit?" Ethan nodded without hesitation. "She's the best. She works really hard even when she's tired." Daniel's eyes flickered with something softer, something the others hadn't seen before. He straightened up and turned to the panel. "I trust you've already reviewed her qualifications." The managers stammered, unsure how to respond. One of them muttered something about professionalism, but Daniel raised a hand to silence him. "Let me tell you something," he said firmly. "I started my career with nothing. I know what it means to struggle, to fight for every opportunity. What I see here is not a lack of professionalism. It's a display of strength. This woman came despite the odds, despite having no support. That is exactly the kind of determination this company needs." The panel fell quiet, unable to argue. Sarah blinked rapidly, fighting back tears. For years she had faced rejection, judgment, and doors slammed in her face simply because she was a single mother. And now, for the first time, someone powerful was standing up for her. Daniel turned back to Sarah, his tone gentle. "Ms. Williams, I'd like to personally invite you to join our company. We can make the role flexible so you can manage both your work and your child. Talent and dedication should never be overlooked because of circumstance." Sarah covered her mouth, overwhelmed. I don't know what to say, thank you." Ethan tugged at her sleeve and whispered, "Mommy, does that mean you got the job?" Sarah nodded, and Ethan's face lit up with joy. Daniel smiled at the boy. "Yes, Ethan, it means your mom is going to help us make this company even better." As Sarah left the room, her son skipping happily by her side, the weight she had been carrying for years seemed to lift. For once, she didn't feel like a burden to the world. She felt seen, respected, and valued. That day became a turning point in her life. She worked tirelessly, proving her worth, and in time she rose through the company ranks, admired by colleagues who once doubted her. But she never forgot the moment when one man's understanding changed everything. Sometimes the difference between rejection and opportunity is a single act of compassion. And for Sarah and Ethan, it was the day a millionaire CEO walked into a room and chose to see beyond appearances, to see the strength of a single mother fighting for her child's future. Life has a strange way of testing the strength of those who already carry the heaviest burdens, and the keynote of this story lies not in the rejection or the judgment Sarah faced, but in the moment a powerful man chose to see beyond appearances and recognize resilience as the truest form of professionalism, because in that instant the world witnessed that true leadership is not measured by how many rules one enforces, but by how deeply one understands the struggles that others endure. Sarah's journey to that interview was not just a walk into a corporate office, it was a walk through years of sacrifice, late nights spent juggling work, and motherhood mornings filled with worry about rent and school fees, and countless moments where she chose her child's needs over her own. And when the interview panel dismissed her for bringing Ethan, they weren't rejecting a woman with a child. They were rejecting the quiet courage of millions of single parents who show up despite the odds. The beauty of what happened when Daniel Hayes walked in was that he broke through the surface of judgment. He didn't just see a mother with a boy in a boardroom. He saw a fighter, someone who had already proved her determination in life long before sitting at that table. And that is the keynote of this story, that strength and dedication are not always dressed in perfect suits or polished shoes. Sometimes they are wrapped in tired eyes, steady hands, and the small fingers of a child who believes in their parent with unshakable faith. Daniel's words in that moment echoed far beyond that office. They were a reminder that compassion and vision must go hand in hand if success is to be meaningful, because a company that fails to value humanity can never truly grow. He understood that by giving Sarah a chance, he was not offering charity. He was investing in grit, loyalty, and an unbreakable will to succeed. Sarah's story tells us that rejection is often not a reflection of worth, but of the limited vision of those who judge, and acceptance from the right person at the right time can change not only one life, but generations to come. The keynote is clear. True opportunity is born when someone dares to see potential where others see inconvenience, when someone values perseverance more than perfection, and when someone understands that behind every struggle there is a story waiting to rise. If we as individuals, as leaders, and as human beings choose to recognize the unseen battles that people fight every day, then we will create a world where talent is not lost to circumstance, where dignity is not stripped by judgment, and where the next Sarah walking into a room with trembling hands and hopeful eyes will no longer fear rejection, but will stand tall knowing her strength is her greatest qualification. And that is the essence of this story, that a single act of empathy has the power to rewrite destinies, and that the greatest wealth a leader can possess is not money or status, but the ability to lift others into the light when the world is too quick to cast shadows.